Yes, we are. We're recording.
We're rolling.
This is John Wiper. I'm here with my friend Norm Hammel. The date is June 17th, 2017. We're here to basically hear your story, what happened in World War II, about the 303rd Bomber Group, you know, the time you led up to it. You're basically kind of let you just tell your story here. We'll keep track of time, so everything just relaxed, and we'll just kind of go from there. Norm, why don't you start off by just telling you who you are and just a quick background of yourself about where you grew up and so forth, and then kind of bring us up to your senior year in high school.
Okay, very quickly. I was born April 29th, 1925, born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We moved down to Morgantown, West Virginia when I was either 2 or 3 years old. We stayed there for a few years, and then we moved up to Hempstead, New York, which is on Long Island. And I was just about to enter high school in Hempstead when the family moved to Brooklyn, New York. So I spent my 4 years of high school at Manual Training High School in Brooklyn, New York. I was 18 years old, graduated. Well, actually, we didn't have a graduation. There weren't enough of us left.
Let's slow down a little bit here. We don't have to be in a rush because, you know, we don't want to try to do this whole video in 90 seconds, you know. So we just kind of back up a little bit here, just kind of slow the pace down a little bit here, and just relax a little bit. Like I said, this is for family primarily, you know, this is what this is for. So your family will have a record of, you know, what you did in World War II, and we're very proud of what you did, and that's greatest generation here. So you grew up in upstate New York. You had brothers and sisters?
I had one brother who was 14 years older than I was, and so I never saw much of him because when I was growing up, he was, as I say, 14 years older than I was. He went to work and got married when he was about 21 or 22 years old. So we saw each other occasionally. He would come back, he and his wife would come back to the house that we were living in.
Okay, well, here's let's go ahead and bring us up now to Pearl Harbor, of course, happened on December 7th, 1941. You were, what, a junior in high school when that happened?
Let's see, I would have been, let's see, well, I was a senior in 43.
Well, why don't you go ahead and bring me up to 1943, and so we can get started up to the war period. So you graduated high school in 1943, right?
Right.
Tell me what happened when you graduated from high school.
Pardon me?
Tell me what happened, Norm, when you graduated from high school.
Okay, when we, if you want to call it graduation, we didn't even have a graduation. There weren't enough of us, males, to have a formal graduation. I can remember.
Oh, was that because of the boys were already off to war at that point?
Yes. Yeah, the older boys a lot of them had enlisted.
Because they'd already turned 18 before they graduated?
Had enlisted, so when the draft board, when I was called to actually get on the bus and get into the service, actually there were only 35 males left at Manual Training High School.
How many girls in the class, just to give us a perspective?
Pardon me?
How many girls were in that graduating class, just for perspective?
There was still a lot more girls left, yeah.
Okay.
But as I say, 35 males were all that were left, and they never did have a formal graduation.
I gotcha. Well, tell me what happened after you graduated. Were you already, now you must have turned 18 in April before that, right?
I was in April of 1943.
So you graduated after April, so tell me what happened after you graduated.
Okay, graduation was, we got on a bus, and there were 20 of us, went on a bus, and took us out to Long Island to a Camp Upton.
Now, how much after this graduation? Was this a week later, a day later? Did you?
We actually never had a graduation.
Oh, okay. Well, let's say after you left high school, how much longer did you take before you enlisted?
Let's see. I was in the service. They let me know on June 21st that I would be picked up, or they were going to. We had a meet, and we drafted on July 2nd. July 2nd, so we had a week and a half.
Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I drafted. It was a draft back in those
I
days.
gotcha.
That was it.
Well, tell me about the draft process and how did you get
months
from there to
before-
be in Army Air
Months
Corps?
before, when I turned 18 in April, you had to go through a draft board and this and that and the other, and they gave you they had doctors there. They gave you a physical to see what kind of shape you were in. Unfortunately or fortunately, I was in good shape, so they put me down for I think it was called 1A or something like that back in those days. And then I got a letter telling me that a bus would be ready for us on June, July 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, right into there. It's going back 70 years now, don't forget, 75 years. And there were 20 men, 20 young lads like myself, not only from my high school, but other high schools from around the area. They took us out to Camp Upton, Long Island, which is still there. It's still, it's another kind of a facility is there now, but Camp Upton is still there. And there they processed us in the fact that they went through clothing to get something that fit you. I was very fortunate. Most of the stuff fit me pretty good, but some of the men came out with the sleeves of their hanging down over their fingertips, and pants were dragging, but they did the best they could.
So this is an Army enlistment. This is an Army draft.
Right, Army draft. Right.
Tell me how you went from there to I guess would be the Flight Corps, I guess you call it.
Well, let's see. From there, by the way, at that point they gave me a serial number, which I have written down here. If you'd like to know my serial.
No.
Okay.
Oh, well, if you have it, sure. Let me. For the record, why not? Go ahead.
It was. Let's see where we are. 329-854-58. That was my serial number.
Okay.
For the years that I was in the service.
Gotcha.
And from that Long Island, they shipped us down to North Carolina, to Greenville, North Carolina. And there they tested us for our aptitudes of what they thought we should be good for. So I said, here I am, 18 years old. I'm going to be a pilot. They gave us the test, and I failed on the first test. But I did.
What was the test about? Tell us about the test.
What's that?
Tell us about the test.
Well, the test was pulling strings and getting things into coordination, your eyesight, your making sure that you weren't colorblind and things along that line. But also, they made sure that you were strong enough, they felt, to even handle a plane of any kind. So I failed that, which many of us also failed. And then they gave us I put the round peg in the round hole, the square peg.
Did anybody flunk that?
In the square hole. And they said, you are really mechanically inclined. You can be into the Air Corps, but it's going to be as an engineer of some kind. So from there, I was shipped to Amarillo, Texas, which was at that time just desert. It was just plain desert out there. The wind would blow, and the cattle and the wind would just whip the whatever grass there was just across. It was just desolate out in Amarillo, Texas. But there, I went through a little bit of physical training, how to do your exercises and this and that. And that took some more tests for aptitude. And again, for some reason, I don't know why, they thought I would make a good engineer. So from Amarillo, Texas, we went to, the group of us were sent to Las Vegas Gunnery School. And there, it was 6 weeks at gunnery school. And
Tell us about gunnery school. What did that entail?
Pardon me?
What did that entail?
Well, it would be that we would be flying in a B-17, flying at other B-17s who were carrying a target. And thank goodness they knew very well, have that target way, way behind the plane that's carrying the target, because, here we are just learning how to to shoot 50 caliber machine guns.
So were you firing a 50 caliber from the side of a B-17?
Yeah.
How did you do?
I guess we passed. That's the picture. But anyway, so that took care of that part, and then they sent me to flight school at Everett, Washington, where they make Boeing company is out there, and we learned more about a B-17, the engines, and that was about a 7-month course out there.
Where was this again?
Everett,
Washington.
Everett, Washington.
Washington, okay.
That's where Boeing plant is, where they were manufacturing the B.
Now, what time frame was this? Do you know the year? I mean, the month and year?
Oh, that would have been in 1944. That would have been in 44.
Early 44, I see.
And early still 1945. And early 1940.
44.
44, I'm sorry. 44, right. And from there, we were shipped to Avon Park, Florida.
Right here in Florida.
And there we formed a crew. We had went through for a pilot, co-pilot, and the bombardier, navigator, 2 waist gunners, and a tail gunner, and a ball turret gunner. And we were analyzed in this, how are we going to get along with, how do you think you're getting along with this one here and this one there? That was about a 3-week course in that. Not a course, but getting to see if we acclimated to ourselves, which we did. We were very, very, very fortunate that we all got along very, very well. So that was from Avon Park. We were flying flights up to Savannah, Georgia, Hunter Field up there, back and forth, back to the Everglades, just getting used to getting together, seeing how a B-17 worked, the pilot, and so forth.
How long were you in Avon Park?
We were in Avon Park just about 3 weeks. That was about it.
Did you do practice bombing runs too? Did you practice bomb runs too?
Not really bomb runs, but just flights of what we're supposed to be doing later on.
Gotcha.
When we did get over there. So we formed our crew.
Tell me about, before this, backing up a little bit, tell me about your specific flight engineer training that you had.
The flight engineer training was out in Everett, Washington. That is the engine parts of how the radial engine worked, the different parts, and how, although we did not have to fix it, we had crews at the bases there and overseas who did that. But we had to have a knowledge of what did what and what would happen if such and such arose, what we could do when we are up, what I am supposed to do when we are up in a flight plane.
Now, to educate somebody who may not know, what's the difference between a bombardier and a flight engineer?
Bombardier is an officer, number one. The officers were pilot, co-pilot, navigator, and bombardier. The rest of us were enlisted men. They were the officers on.
So what was your duties on board? You mentioned, of course, that you were doing a side gunner. Besides being a side gunner, and you were monitoring the engines, what more of the duties did you do on the B-17?
Well, really, I'll go into that when we get over to overseas there.
Sure, go ahead. Continue.
So from Avon Park, we got our orders. They were going over to Europe. Okay. So from Avon Park, we flew up to Hunter Field, Georgia. And we spent a day or so up there. And then our next mission, our next flight was going up to Bangor, Maine. So we did let our parents know that where we were heading, and that would be probably the last time we would actually be talking with them until, well, we never did get that. We didn't have the facilities, and back then that they would, texts and everything like that line. So we decided, here's what we're going to do. We got our course, and the pilot got us together, and he said, let's see. Norman Hammel, the flight engineer, he lives in Brooklyn. I would say we'll be heading pretty near Brooklyn at around a certain time in the morning. A navigator lived in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. If we deviate off course, this is amongst ourselves now. If we deviate off course a little bit, we can get over to Fitchburg, Massachusetts, and then head up to Bangor, Maine. So I let my parents know and what was going on, that we would be flying nearby at around 11 o'clock on this particular morning. It was a Sunday morning, I always remember that. And the navigator, who lived in Fitchburg, had let his family know, I forget what time we were going to be close by. Well, when we really got pretty low flying over Brooklyn, New York. The whole families of all the families on the whole block, and there were hundreds and hundreds were out there. And we came in so low that some officer who was on relief at that, caught our tail number. All right. So, but we did get fairly close to the rooftops. It's a B-17.
Oh, that must have been fun.
I'd say we're about 1,000 feet up there.
Okay,
That was about it. Got over to Fitchburg, and his families and all the groups were out there. We got up to Bangor, Maine, and there were the MPs waiting for us.
Oh boy.
And as soon as we came to a stop, they were right there. They arrested us because we had gone off course, and they said, yeah, okay, you fellas are locked up here for a week. And we said, that's not too bad. The war might be over in another week, and we won't have to go overseas then. But it didn't work out that way. But so we were kept at Bangor, Maine, Dow Field. Remember the name, Dow Field? And flew up to Gander, Newfoundland from there. And there we had to wait for the weather. And from Gander, we waited there about 3 days for the weather to break. And we got our instructions to fly from Gander to Wales. And halfway across, our hydraulic system went out. The whole system went out.
Now, let's back up a little bit here.
We were too far back. We couldn't go back.
Let me ask you this. What kind of range on the B-17? Did you guys have any problem stretching your fuel to go from Newfoundland to where?
Wales.
To Wales?
Oh yeah, well, I don't know how many miles right now. I can't think what it was, but we had plenty of fuel.
Plenty of fuel.
Oh, plenty of fuel. So we're halfway. So as the pilot said to the navigator, we might just as well keep going, right? So fortunately, the navigator had flight training in the Navy, and he knew how to read the stars. And by him reading the stars and the celestial way of God, we landed right on the button in Wales.
Wow.
It was amazing. It was amazing. If it hadn't been for him, of course, our whole dashboard with everything went out. All the way that we could, that you normally would be able to, get on the phone and the whole thing. So we landed in Wales. I can't remember the town, or city, whatever it was. And from there, we were transported to our base in England, a town called Molesworth, England. It was a town, it was an RAF base before the war, so at least there was a fairly long runway. And what the construction people did, the CBs and so, they lengthened the runway, I forget what it was, out to 7,500 feet. They did that. That would have been in June of, let's see now, 44, on the 15th, right around, oh, we landed there, I'm sorry, on Christmas Day of June 44.
Okay.
Yeah, Christmas Day, that's right. And they did have turkey. They did have turkey, yeah. And from there we took a few flights just on our own, over the English Channel with the group that was going on a bomb run, just to get acquainted on how we did all this and that. And it was actually on January 10th, 1945, that we made our first mission. That was our first mission there.
Tell me about that first mission.
Well, I have it.
Okay.
It was to, I kept a log.
Wow.
After when I came home,
Fantastic.
came back from each mission, I kept a log. I was the only one that did this, but anyway, that was the January, where are we? 10th. January 10th, 1945. Target was airfield, Bonn, Germany. Bonn, Germany. And I have down here that, let's see, had, let's see what I have, my finishes of plane. It was, flak was moderate, but inaccurate. It was,
well,
it
tell
was
me,
moderate to flak.
let's go back a little bit on your first mission. I'd like to focus on that a little bit. Okay, tell me about the day this started. Tell me about when you guys woke up, you had breakfast. I mean, tell me about what you guys were thinking.
Right.
Tell me about
a typical mission.
Please.
A typical mission. If you were going to be flying that next day, they tied a sergeant came around and tied a white towel on your bedpost, and that would have been about 2 o'clock in the morning. They'd wake you up and make sure that you were awake, not be a turn over and go back to sleep again. All right, we get dressed, go to the mess hall, and have a good breakfast. It was eggs, but not the real egg. What do you call them?
powdered eggs.
Powdered eggs.
Okay,
Powdered
yes.
eggs. And other than that, it was a
Typical
good
Army
meal.
SOS, right?
Pardon me?
The dinners.
Right,
yeah.
and SOS, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a good
We'll keep
breakfast.
this rated G here for the people that are watching it. So.
No, I'm not going to. I'm just going to say
Yeah.
SOS, that's all.
But no, keep getting back.
But
a
it was
little bit.
good.
So you were up early that morning. Obviously, the crew chiefs and the staff are all doing their thing.
They're all a crew chief, our base man.
Right.
They had run through everything, and it was everything was, as far as they were okay.
What was going through your mind on your first mission?
Oh boy, it was. Well, the main thing was you didn't know where you were going. After breakfast, you went to the room where they had a big curtain, and of course you didn't know what it was until they pulled the curtain back, and then you took a look in what city, what was going to be going on, what group was going to be flying with you, where you were going to be flying, at what altitude, etc., etc., etc. Although that went mostly to the navigator and to the bombardier, that particular type of information. But we were scared. We know, this is going to be our first run, and of where you're going to have the enemy firing at you. And or I should mention just a little bit, just going back a little bit, as you got to your base in Molesworth, England, you had just your bag over your shoulder, and you said to the sergeant, I can always remember this, what bed is mine? And he'd say, any empty bed you see is yours. That's the ones who didn't come back from the last mission. That was the way they greeted you. The empty beds were the ones who didn't come back from the last mission.
That didn't install a lot of confidence.
I just thought I'd throw that in there. That's the way they put it. Very blunt. That was it. Because they had been losing men tremendously. And so you went into the briefing room. You saw what was going on. We went out to the plane. And then before the other men of the plane went out, I had to run up the engines. It was up to me to run up the engines again, even though the ground crew had done all that. And if I felt that one of the engines was not performing the way it should be performing, it was up to me to call it. I'd say to the pilot, it never happened, but if it did, I would have said, Bob, I don't think that number 3 engine's going to make it. It's not going to make it all the way to anywhere.
What was the name? Who was the name of your pilot?
Oh boy, Bob. Wait a minute. I can't remember.
That's okay.
I have my pictures.
Don't worry about it. I don't want to hold
boy,
up.
Oh boy, we flew 35 missions together too.
Don't worry about it. Moving on.
Okay.
Here. So you were revving up the engines early morning before your mission here in January 10th, 45. Tell me what happened next.
Well, everything was fine as far as I was concerned and so forth. I gave the okay. I had to sign a paper that I was satisfied with the performance of the engines there. And then I was the first one out to the plane. Then the rest of the crew came out. We warmed up the engines again, got into line to get out. And we were taking off about every minute and a half, one behind the other, one behind the. Even though you had the backdraft, today at commercial they stand way back before the other plane leaves or takes off. Not well, of course we didn't have the power of the engines that they have today, but you were right behind them. You were right behind them.
No, didn't worry about jet wash back then.
Yeah. And we took off, and fortunately, as I have written down here, it was a good flight. The pilot,
How long was this mission?
That particular mission was 6 hours.
Round trip?
It was a 6 hours round trip. Yeah, 6 hours.
And where were you going once again, please?
Bonn, B-O-N-N.
Bonn, Germany.
Bonn, Germany.
What was your target?
Target was an airfield. An airfield. I have it down here.
Okay,
Airfield.
tell me about your mission. Okay, you fly. You're in the air now, and you're over at this point. Friendly France.
Going across the channel is when we fired our guns into the water, into the channel, to make sure everything was working with as far as our guns were working all right. And
now, we mentioned you were also a flight engineer in charge of the engines. Now, you mentioned before that you were assigned one of the side gunner positions.
I was a top turret.
Top turret.
Top turret. On takeoff, I stood behind the pilot, and I counted off our airspeed to him. And about 100 to 110 miles an hour is when we took off.
When did you start manning the top turret? I would assume when you were getting on friendly territory.
Well, that was earlier in flight school. They thought I would be
I mean, during this mission here to Germany, when did you start manning that in this mission?
Okay, just about over the channel. Over the channel. We'd all get into the ball turner got back into hit the ball, tail gunner and so forth. The two waist gunners. One of the waist gunners was a radio man, but they were both waist gunners. Had myself up in the top turret, pilot and co-pilot, navigator and bombardier up in the front there, or in the nose of the plane there. And fortunately, we made it safely. It was a very frightening experience. It was very frightening.
I tell you what we're going to do here is I'm almost out of the tape on this particular segment, so I'm going to go to part 2 here in a minute here. We're about halfway through our taping session. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to take a little intermission here, and I'm going to pause this here, and we'll be ready to hear more about that first mission in a minute here.
All right, okay.
This is John Wiper, JT Wiper here. I'm part 2 of the video here of Norm here. Once again, June 17, 2017. Norm, we're back here. We're on your first mission now. You're over the English Channel. You told me you had tested your guns. I guess the guys were shooting a few rounds out of each gun just to kind of test it. So tell me, after you're on your way now into Europe, you've left England now for the first time, you crossed the English Channel, and you're on the way to Europe. Go ahead and fill me in on your first mission.
Well, as I say, once we, it took a while to get up to the altitude of a bombing. It's not like a jet plane today. It was up to 25,000 feet in a few minutes. It took us a long time to get up to a particular. I think we were about 25,000. We had to go up to about 25,000. That takes a while in itself just to get up there. Meanwhile, your wingtip to wingtip, with the left and the right of your other plane that's on your left and on your right. You've got to keep it steady. That's why we had a wonderful pilot. I'm trying to think of his name.
Well, quick question.
Anyway.
How many B-17s were on this mission?
Out of our base, it would probably be around 20 planes. If we could get 20 planes together, we'd try and get 20
And then you
planes.
would link up with
more
others.
or less, it would be around 10 to 12. The others are being worked on for this, that, or the other. Yeah.
So was it the entire mission, that many planes, or did you look?
And the whole our bomb group, but the 303rd, I was in the 360th squadron now. The 303rd would probably put up 30 planes.
Gotcha.
Now there were 4 squadrons that made up the 303rd bomb group. There were 4 squadrons, and between the two, I'd say we had about 30 planes together. But I'd say each squadron usually had about 10 planes available that particular day. And fortunately, As I say, on our first mission, it was moderate flak. I'll put moderate flak. We could feel it, boom. We could
Now,
feel
when
it.
did you start feeling the flak?
Let's see. I guess we were about, I'm going to say about a half hour before target.
Have you encountered any enemy planes at this point?
No, not on that particular parade. We had no planes. No, we had no. But around a half hour, and once you hit the IP, the initial point, you had to stay in formation. That's when the flak would really get intense because they knew you couldn't deviate off course in order to get to the target. So you were just sitting there, not sitting there, flying there with no way of even moving your wingtips or anything like that because you'd be hitting the plane either on your left or on your right. And that's where all the pilots were. They were not little guys like me. They were usually heavy-set guys that could handle a plane, and you had to be able to do that. And that was our first mission. We came back after you had a mission.
Okay, tell me about you guys dropped your bombs. Did you guys you hit your target?
They take pictures of it. You know, what we did actually was not pinpoint bombing like you do today with the drones and everything that you have today where they can hit an initial target. They can target a single person on the ground today. It was what we did. It was just mass bombing. That's what I'll put it that way. You had a target. You took pictures of the target, and that went into the interrogation people when you got back to your base. And interrogation would talk to us. Did you see how much flak did you have? This and that and the other. They wanted to know the intensity of the flak at each bombing run that we ever did.
Okay, so you hit your target. You're on your way back. Tell me about the trip back.
Once we hit the dropped our bombs, then we start on our way back. You could deviate a little bit because your wingmen were not that close after you left the target. But coming on target, you had to stay with them. You had to stay there. And we did. I usually had very good flak after the target too, because they knew which way we were going to turn in order to get back home again. So it wasn't a case of them. I wonder where they're going to go now. They knew we had dropped our bombs. Now we're heading back to our bases, and that was it was. You know, we were.
So did you lose any bombers on that run with the flak?
No, not that I know of. But I'll get to the fifth mission.
Okay, please. Now tell me when this fifth mission occurred.
The fifth mission was January 22nd. January 22nd. Stark Raid, Starkade. I guess they pronounce it Stark Raid or Starkwood. Anyway, it was a tough one. That was the plane on a.
Okay, tell me about it. You guys
on
took
the
off.
bomb run. On the bomb run,
okay,
where you can't deviate off course. The plane on our left was shot down. 9 men.
How was it shot
Plane
down?
on our right
Flak?
was shot down. 18 men lost, just like that.
How were they shot down?
Flak, not plane, flak. They were very accurate with this flak, believe me, because it spread out all over. It's not that it just was pinpointed up to a particular plane. And so 18 men were lost. We did not see any parachutes. Our bombardier, he saw this whole thing very visually, being up in the front. He could look all around. He became hysterical. He went wild. The navigator had to hit him over the head and knock him out. Of course, we were on oxygen now. We were on oxygen at 10,000 feet. And it was a horrifying, we had 20 holes shot in our plane.
Did you have any injuries on your plane?
No, we did not have any injuries, no. Well, if you want to call the
except
bombardier.
for the bombardier.
Yeah, right. We had 20 holes in the plane. Fortunately, none hitting the gas tanks or anything like that. But when we got back, we looked it over and there were 20 holes in our plane. And they took the bomb, as we hit the target, Stark Raid, I'm not too sure how they pronounce it now. And was a very intense. It was they had everything thrown up at us on that particular raid, and everything they had.
Tell me about the first time that you encountered enemy planes.
That would have been. It wasn't until around the. Let's see if I think it was around the 8th mission that we encountered enemy planes. We did not have any. Well, we had escorts of P-51s, but they had a very low range of flight at that particular time. So the Germans knew about how far the P-51s would go with us, and then when they had to go back because they needed refueling, that's when the German planes would start coming at us, and that was really the first time that we really encountered planes, and as we all got excited, and the pilot was saying, "Take it easy," because I'm shouting. I'm into my phone. I'm telling. I'm in the top turret, and I would shout. The way we did it was the waist gunner on the left will say covered the 3 o'clock area. We went by a clock. The waist gunner on the right side of the in the waist in there would count off if it was not at the 3 o'clock, and tail gunner would call 12 o'clock. Coming in at 12 o'clock low. And so we're all yelling at the same time. That's when the pilot said, "Everybody, shut up. Concentrate on what you're doing. Don't get excited, guys. Don't get excited. Don't get excited." And we learned then really how to control ourselves. Even the navigator, they have a gun up in the front. He would come in at 12 o'clock high, or so whatever it may be. So we had a general idea of where the planes were coming, and we calmed down. I remember we all got excited. It was the first time we'd really encountered the enemy aircraft, and they were hitting us very hard, very hard.
Was your plane hit?
Yes, our plane was hit. Fortunately, the tail on the stabilizers. And pilot really did a tremendous job.
Did you personally get any hits on any plane?
The personnel, you mean?
No, I mean you were manning the top turret. Tell me about your action on the top turret.
Top turret is able to swing a 360. Believe it or not, you don't have to worry about when you think, okay, I'm swinging a 360. I'm going to hit the tail of our plane as we're going around. There was a cutoff. And for goodness sake, I never had any problems.
Well, tell me about the planes come in. Were these Messerschmitts, Focke-Wulf 190s?
They were Messerschmitts. That's what they were. Yeah, they hadn't come into the MER and into their jet planes at quite then. They didn't have the.
So these were Focke-Wulf. I mean, these were
right.
ME-109s.
Right. So we were able to track them pretty good. With our turret, out of our turret.
You were able to get. You had mentioned before. Well, you didn't actually shoot any ones down, but were you able to get any pieces on any of them? Were you able to get any strikes on any of these planes?
To what?
Were you able to get any hits on any of these planes?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, did we actually?
No, yourself or
not
your
that
crew.
We know of. Not that we know of. Not in that particular. I don't think we ever did.
Okay.
I don't think we ever actually. Got where anybody said I think I shot that plane down or whatever. I don't think so. I can't know. I would remember that, but I can't remember anything like that. But that was actually the most stressing mission of the 35 that I put in, was when I saw men that were in my Quonset hut. A few of them, as I say, were in the room in my Quonset hut that I knew. We played poker together or whatever have you, and 18 men, just like that, shot down.
So on this mission here, you say this was your 8th mission?
8th mission.
How many bombers did you lose on that mission?
I don't think, well, those 2 that I know of, none out of our bomb group. Anyway, I was the only 2 out of our bomb group. Other bases, I have no idea. I have no idea.
So you lost 2 bombers in your group that day?
That's 2 that I know of.
And you would think they were shot down by the ME-109s? Do you think they were shot down by the ME-109s?
Oh, yes. It just went up in flames.
You watched them get hit?
They hit the gas tanks, and that was the end of it.
Did any of these guys bail out? Any of the crew members of the two B-17s that went down, did they bail out?
We never saw parachutes. We never saw parachutes. No, because we always had to keep record. If you see a plane go down and men are going out, let us know how many parachutes you see that open up. But nothing opened up. Nothing at all.
Tell me about, so you made it back on that trip here. Tell me about your next most memorable mission.
That would have been, I'd have to take a look here again.
I'd like to hear about the one
I think it was around the 12th or 13th or somewhere in through there.
Well, getting back a little bit, just take a pause here for a second. Norm, how many missions did you fly?
35 missions. At that time, earlier you could stop after 25 missions because it was really, very, very severe. Not many planes were coming back. I forget the ratio right now, but it was. We were heading into the Romania oil fields and things like that, and we were just dead ducks.
Did you do any missions into the Romanian Palosti fields?
No, I did not. No, we did not. We didn't go in that far. We didn't. Anyway, other planes did, but we didn't.
If you could tell me about the mission that we'd heard before, about the ones where you had mentioned that you had to do something with the Bombay doors.
Oh, that was been. I was going to look it up, but I'll save a little time. I think it was around either the 10th or 11th, something like that. We dropped our bombs, hit the target. Remember, we hit that target. Good. Pictures.
What was your target?
I forget. I can look it up, but what is that? Let's see.
Let me pause for a minute.
Let's see what I have here. Let's see. That's the 21st. Now let's see. All right. It was the 16th. 16th to Berlin.
Oh.
It was Berlin.
What was your target? What was your target in Berlin?
February. That would have been February 26th. Berlin, Germany. Let's see. Couldn't see target. Moderate flak. No hits. Came back with 40 gallons of gas. Came back.
Did you drop your bombs all right?
Yeah, 40 gallons of gas. That's what we had when we came back.
Tell me about the Bombay doors.
The what?
Tell me about the Bombay doors.
Well, that was the mission with the Bombay doors.
Tell me what happened.
We dropped our bombs, and the Bombay doors wouldn't close. Well, you can't fly back from the Berlin or anywhere with the Bombay doors open. It's awful drag. So I had to get out there, cover my feet over the walkway from the waist to the back, only about 2 feet wide, 2 feet wide, and looking down. We're up at about 30,000 feet, that's something there. And I have a wrench, well, that's like a wrench that you see when you're tiring the nuts on the bolts on a tire of your car, and you're turning. There's 360 turns. So at about halfway, my arms just gave out. I just couldn't. So the radio man came back. I went back. Now I'm on oxygen all this time, looking down at 26,000 feet down there. And I said, I've got to have help. I can't go anymore. And it took about a half hour or 35 minutes to get those Bombay doors cranked up in it. The hydraulic system went out. And that's what they had hit that.
So your radio man was able to finally get it?
He finished up. I'd say we each did half of the 360. Yeah.
On that same mission, did you encounter enemy planes on that mission?
Yes, we did. We did. It was. Although I have the flak was not intense, but the planes were intense.
Tell me about the planes that hit you on this mission.
I don't know. I don't know what it was. We were busy fighting off the enemy planes at that particular time.
Tell me about what you were thinking, what was going on when you were up in that ball turret. I'd like to hear, up at the top turret. Tell me a little bit more about the top turret.
Top turret, it's, as I say, yes, it was a 360. That turned 360 degrees up there. Had two guns there. And I'm trying to think of that expression that we use. The whole 9 yards, that is an expression that came from World War II, because that's for how much ammunition there was on the line 9 yards of 50 caliber. That's how the expression. I used the whole 9 yards. In other words, whoever it was used the whole belt, the whole 9 ends. That's how the expression came about. That's what I've been told. But I do know it was 9 yards, and if you needed any more, you had to hook it up yourself. You had another.
Did your plane sustain damage on that mission?
I don't have it down there, so I think we were lucky on that one. We were lucky. We were very lucky. But the plane firing was intense, so fortunately we didn't get it. But the cable, the hydraulic system, cable couldn't pull up our bomb bay doors, and was straddling.
Tell me about. Okay, let's go ahead now. Was this one of the missions that you landed in the English Channel?
Okay, that was on March 25th.
Tell me about your first landing in the English Channel.
It was March 25th, if I remember correctly. Here we are.
Kind of unscheduled swim.
That was, let's see what we have here. Don't forget, I wrote this years and years ago.
For the listener here, I want to let people know that
years ago.
Norm was in the English Channel twice.
Let's see. I think, well, it was March 25th, if my memory. Oh, I'm into April already. I think it was March 25th. If my memory serves me right. Where are we? No date. Let's see, I don't have a date on that. Wait a minute.
Would you like to pause?
Let's see. March. Why don't I have a date there? Tell me, why don't I have a date there? I don't know.
I'm going to pause this for a minute.
I don't know.
Norm, we're recording again. My question, though, with you here is, I want to make sure we're recording. Yes, we are. Quick question here for you. You had mentioned that there were two times that you were shot, that your plane was so badly damaged you had to ditch in the English Channel. Tell me about the first time this happened.
That was the 29th mission on March 28, 1945. Target was Berlin, and between the base and moving along a coast, and had a crash, ran out of fuel. We couldn't make it back to the European shore. I knew we weren't going to make it, and I said to, God, what was his name? Bob. Years. I said, Bob, we're not going to make it. We're not going to make it. So he said, we're going to have to crash land in the English Channel. So what do you guys, yeah, I guess we're at about 8,000 feet now. And he said, do you want to parachute out?
Was this because your fuel
on a crash?
Was this because your fuel line was hit?
Yes.
Your fuel line was hit.
Yeah, I knew we were not going to make it back to the coast of England.
Did you have injured people on board?
No, we did not. And I said, we all took a vote very quickly. We'll take a chance on a crash landing. We'll take a chance. So our radio man did what he was supposed to do and got in touch with the English shore and this and that and the other, whatever the heck I can't remember exactly. There was a way of him contacting them without the enemy knowing that we were going to be, what we were going to be doing. And we circled, came around, and he made a beautiful landing.
On the water.
Right, and close to the English shore, but still in the water. Wheels up. We took our positions that we knew we had to, just like you hear a commercial where you stand there, you sit down, and you hold your head and your hands in the back of your head. And it was, as we kidded later, it was a better landing on English Channel than he does on the on a concrete runway.
Tell me, did you guys go in the dinghies or in the water, or what happened? How were you picked up?
We got out. We had our Mae West, our suits on. The Mae West, we inflated them. We got out of the plane, and we're on the wingtip. And before we knew it, the English had a boat out picking us up. Within four minutes at the most, and we were brought back to the town of Rye, R-Y-E, England. And it's a very small town, and notice they didn't have any Holiday Inn there. The only space they had for us was a local jail. So we spent the night in their local jail in Rye, England, and the truck from our base came out and picked us up the next day, took us back to the base. We were interrogated, and I understand the plane was later taken out of the English Channel. It was not salvaged, but at least taken out of the English. That's what we learned anyway. Yeah, that was the first one, and that was.
If you want to tell me briefly about the second one here,
right,
unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time left.
The second one was around April 5th, if my memory serves me right. The same thing. We just had a long mission. I can't remember just where it was.
I'll tell you what. Why don't we going to pause here? I'm going to go to a third tape here. So where the first one, Norm.
Hamburg.
I've actually run out of tape here. I'm going to pause this once again. This is part 2 of the series. I am going to do a part 3. So this will be second of third part series here. We're going to pause here and we're going to end the video at this point here. Yes, I have 4 minutes here to wrap this up. That's all the memory. I'm sorry, I haven't. So we have 4 minutes here.
We'll get back.
Norm, why don't you tell me about the final time, the second time that you went into the English Channel? You mentioned the first time you ditched near the shore and you were picked up. Tell me about the circumstances of the second ditch.
The second time, it was on April 5th, 1945. Our 23rd mission over. It was Bremen, Germany.
What was your target?
Target was an airfield. It was an airfield, again an airfield, and had no flak, but the message from ME-109s hit us on that particular mission.
Did you sustain any damages?
Yeah. And I can remember, and this one German plane flew right alongside of me, alongside of us. He could have shot us down. I know my turret could not keep up with the speed of that plane. It was amazing, and he just looked at us. And I could see his face. He was that close. I know he could have shot us down. I know it. We all prayed later on that he was maybe related to somebody in the United States or what. But anyway, still there again, we ran out of gas. The same thing again. As a matter of fact.
Before we get to that, I'm very fascinated about this ME-109 that was right next to you. So were you tracking him with your gun?
Yeah, I was tracking, with my gun.
But you were out of ammo.
And the waist gunner, it was at 3 o'clock.
Were you out of ammo at that point?
No, I had ammo.
How come you didn't shoot him down?
I never ran out of ammo.
How come you didn't shoot him down?
He was too speed. He was just moving along. My turret could not move fast enough.
I got you. So he was. In other words, you're trying to shoot him down.
My turret could not move fast enough for him.
How long was he beside your plane?
Oh, just a few seconds. That's all. But he just looked in. As I say, I was parallel with him almost. I mean, he was about that height at 3 o'clock, right around level at 3 o'clock.
But you couldn't get him.
No. And he just flew off, and that was it. Amazingly, but unfortunately, there again, I knew we were not going to get back to the English shore, so we again landed in the English Channel, and actually quite near Rye, where we had the first one, but not that. They came out from this little town in a boat, picked us up, and there again, I forget the accommodations they had. It was. I think actually some people took us into their homes and gave us some clothes, etc., and of course the bombardier was always worried about. They did away with the bombardier after many missions, so the navigator took over the fact of pushing the button. Actually, the lead plane of any formation was actually the one that dropped the bomb. You dropped the bombs when he dropped the bombs. That was the way it went. So we did have the what's that eyesight again? I forget the name of it. think 75 years.
The Norton bomb site?
Oh boy, oh boy. And actually, at the end, so that was our second and last appearance in the English Channel. But flying from about the 25th mission back to the 35th, we flew as what we call tail end Charlie.
Okay, so stop at tail end Charlie for a minute here. I'm going to have to go to a fourth cut here, so here we are. This is John Wiper again, part 4 of the video here. And Norm, I apologize, we just have just a little over a minute and a half before I'm out of memory. I wish I had more, but this is what this is what I have here. So once you go ahead and just kind of wrap it up, you did the second time that you had ditched. Tell me what you like here, and just some closing remarks, anything you would like to tell me of your missions, or anything you would like to state here. We have about a minute of time left here, just to wrap it up.
Let me put it this way. At the end, we were flying, and which we preferred, tail end Charlie, where you could, at least when you came off a target, you could maneuver. Of course, if you were still in the formation, you would be hitting wingtip to wingtip. So we enjoyed calling it tail end Charlie. But on my 35th and last mission, got home, got down on the ground and prayed. We took I have been saving, after each mission, they gave you some liquor. I have been storing mine for a while. And I finished it off all after our 35th mission. Got drunk as hell. First time I ever got drunk as the dickens. And that was it. And that was my last mission, that's my 35th mission.
Thank you very much, Norm. I have to wrap it up now because we just have a few seconds left. And I want to thank you very much for telling your story. God bless you. The greatest generation, Norm Hammel, thank you so much for doing this. I really thank you so much. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
All right, we're going to sign off here. Once again, really appreciate it.